My name.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Tabiso, and I am a community engagement specialist with Disability Hub MN. And today we have Marcy LaCroix and Jack Gorton, and they are gonna fill us in on some information about youth and money. And yeah, these guys are extremely knowledgeable. They are our community capacity builders, and they're really amazing at what they do. So I'm so excited to be here today and to witness this awesome presentation. So thank you guys so much for being here. And if anyone would like, they can, we have the ASL interpreter, they can pin them, and we do have closed captioning. There's a little box at the bottom of your screen. If you hover over it, it should say CC, and you can show the closed captioning if you would like. So yeah, all right. Well, without further ado, we'll let Marcy take it away. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Nothing like a little setup for make this an amazing presentation, but we really hope to do that for you today. And what we want to share with you is all of the things that we at the Hub can support you in building your personal capacity as maybe you are professionals supporting youth at some point in their life, learning about money, talking about work. Perhaps you're a parent and you're wondering how to do that, or maybe you're a young person yourself and you're wondering, what about this world of work? What happens after high school? And you really want to explore living your best life, reaching your dreams, and want to become completely unstoppable. And so these are tools and resources that we hope can support you in being that unstoppable human being. And parents, as a parent myself, I know that's one of the things that we want to support our kids in being is completely unstoppable. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can take a look at first the Hub website. And hopefully that's coming through okay. Jack, if I can get a thumbs up or nod. There, we've got it. All right. So we're on the right path. So what you're seeing here is the Hub website, and it is a wealth of information, not only for youth, but really any age, for families, for professionals. And this is an amazing place to start to build your capacity, to increase your knowledge and develop some understanding. But of course, not everything is easily understood, or maybe you have unique situations. And if that's the case, you can see across the top here that you are able to chat with us at the Hub online. Our phone number, 866-333-2466. And we're available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m., with some federal holiday exceptions, of course. But if it's a holiday, if it's an evening, if it's a weekend, if you're like me and you have these amazing thoughts or questions at 2 a.m., you can always email us and we get back to you usually within a business day. We do ask for the grace of 2 business days, but chat, phone call, or email, whether you have questions about something you see or read here on the Hub website, some of the other websites we're going to show you today, or you just want our support in another way. So the first thing that we're going to look at today is under your options. And under your options, we have these building blocks that we've identified as the way to build your best life. We have health and housing and independence and money and work. And because we're talking about money today, we're actually going to click into money. In any section under your options, there's an overview and there's some umbrella or some subtopics, but in every single one of these options is the focus on youth and money. And in this particular section, we find information on earned income or wages, income from work, unearned income. So this might be a Social Security benefit like SSI. It might be some sort of other gift or other income from a parent or guardian. And then money management skills, something that I wish I would have had as a kid, something I probably am going to wish I passed on to my adult children a little bit more, but some tools in there and some more information. And this one, just as an example, shows a key resource, mymoney.gov. So we do link to outside websites too. And it says this one has some money related games and fun activities. I do know that they were pretty interesting. I haven't clicked in there a while. So I encourage you to explore, see how they fit for you, and see where else these little bits and pieces of information can take you, because there are lots of resources out there. So that's one piece. Now, mom and dad, or looking at the family as a whole, maybe you want to look at this a little differently, and you can do that in this for families section. So the upper right hand side, this first box tab here, and it happens to turn to a purple color when I hover over it. And if I click on there, what we see are these tiles of different topics, if you will, or different stages. We have some general stuff, parent and family support, some COVID-19 resources as the state of emergency has come to end. We know that there's some legislative actions, some policies that are going to impact the disability community. So you may find resources there because, of course, that's an important part when we talk about benefits planning or money as a whole, because benefits includes our healthcare coverage and social security benefits, and perhaps some other benefits, cash benefits that you might receive from your county or your state agencies. And those are incredibly important while we're planning and for considerations. The rest of these tiles, as we scroll down, are by life stage, pregnancy and infancy, all the way through aging. And what we really want to talk about when we are talking about youth and benefits, or youth and money, is talk early, plan early, introduce work, introduce school conversations. For many kiddos that don't have a disability diagnosis or a determination, we're often asking them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we firmly believe that in the disability community, it should be no different. But we also recognize that some of the benefits and services that are received can create barriers, because it's a valid concern that if I have income at a certain level, I might lose this benefit and I need that benefit. So, how do we talk about that, and how do we plan early on? And this is one of the ways to do that. So, if I click into school age, and what we see, and you will see this in every section, an overview, some key supports, programs and services, legal, resources, and planning and advocacy. And we don't have time today to click into each one of these, but I encourage you to do so and explore, because in any of these areas, you may find resources and information that are relative to benefits planning, to work, to money, to planning for school, planning for after school, planning for housing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later on too. So click around in there. You're not going to break anything. And again, you always have us available by chat, phone call, or email. Um, I'm going to go back actually into for families, because there is one spot that we wanted to highlight for you. And that's in this transition to adulthood. There are many periods of in our life stages that are transition, but transition to adulthood, from high school to adulthood, that's a pretty big moment for a young person and for their family. There's lots going on, regardless of whether or not you are also part of the disability community. But in this section, in planning and advocacy, you will see that there are some information, some links, external links here to financial security, like the Minnesota Able Plan and ARC's Master Pooled Trust. There's also some financial literacy with the LEAD Center, benefits work in school, and these are links to resources and tools right here on the Hub website, or a connection to websites supported by the Hub. And Jack is going to highlight some of those in just a little bit. Some civil rights and up on top with some self-advocacy. And a part of self-advocacy too is that conversation early and often about benefits and work, building people's capacity as much as possible, because understanding your benefits, understanding the impact of work on those benefits really can eliminate barriers. And we're here to support that conversation. So I'm going back all the way up to the top here where it says Hub Tools. And I want to click on Hub Tools, and you'll see that there's the other websites that we support. Jack's going to talk about DB 101 in a little bit. I'm going to come back and talk about HB 101. Right now, I want to highlight the Vault. And this says My Vault. When I click on it, it gives some information about a Vault account. And a Vault account is a secure way to share information and organize information with one sign-on and one password, and it exists across all three websites: the Hub website, DB 101 or Disability Benefits 101, and HB 101, Housing Benefits 101. You can complete and save planning activities, which is a little bit of what we're going to show you today, store and share documents. So all of those documents that you get from Social Security or from the county or from school, you can upload, take a picture of them, scan them, whatever works for you and your family, to start organizing those and keep those in one safe, secure place, because we know that there's so much information. And the benefit too of having them in the vault is if you have a question about them and you contact us with the Hub, you can share that with us securely through the vault so that we can help talk through that, answer questions that you might have, and send you back or share specific resources. If you have more questions about the vault after our conversation today, there's a short video, a 3-minute video on what that vault is. There's some more information here for professionals, and there's some exploration guidance for exploring the vault's paths. All right, so I'm going to click into the vault account. We are already signed into our vault. This is exactly what you would see when you create a vault account. All right, what's come up is 4 tiles now that say planning paths, saved estimators, sessions, files, and contacts. And I'm going to click into this planning paths, this upper left-hand side tile here. And what this brings us to is the plethora of activities that exist in the vault account, a vault account. Now, these are person-centered, they're person-directed, and we've recently added this best life path in support of having conversations early and often. This path really can be used for any age, any ability. We use them as Hub staff. I use them with my kids. I know other people have used them for a variety of reasons, including wedding planning and childbirth planning. There's so many reasons and ways to use these. But the one thing about this particular best life path is that it does not eliminate the conversation about work. It invites that, it creates opportunity to have that, but this could be with your 5-year-old, this could be with your preschooler, this could be with your 80-year-old aunt or mother. So many uses. And again, we encourage you to click around in there. You're not going to break anything. Please reach out with questions. Let us support you in that. But one thing that I wanted to highlight in this particular path is money, a best life budget. Maybe it's unfortunate, but money impacts so much of our world, so much of our life. And if we don't understand our money, if we don't understand our financial situation, it can create barriers. And we want people to understand where that money comes from, what it is, regardless of how much support they need, that someone in their life, preferably them, when and if possible, understands their information. Oh, excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm going to mute myself and try and get that out. All right, we'll see if that helps. That also gave Joy's hands a rest. So, the first activity in here is really one of the most powerful activities that we offer, and it is called Get a Benefits Lookup. And what this does is send a request, a secure request to the Department of Human Services Disability Division that says that you are requesting the information about your benefits on file. And hmm, I am not seeing. I thought I had completed one in here. We'll see if it shows up for us. So there's some instructions in here why it's safe, what to do if you have questions about it, and then there's a next button. And what we ask for is a first name, a last name, and a birth date. Then we ask for your email address so you can receive the notification that that piece of information you've requested has come to your vault. Now, if you want, it can be shared with perhaps you're working with someone at the hub and you want it shared with them. Perhaps you want it shared with your mom, or you're working with someone with Voc Rehab. You can send this copy of results and by entering their email. Then we ask for a third identifier. So your name and your date of birth are two identifiers, but we ask for this third one: your street address, your county case manager or county case number, excuse me, which can be found in the upper right-hand corner of all communication from the county regarding your benefits, or your personal master index or PMI, which is your MA, your medical assistance number. Um, Address, likely the most the easiest one for folks. However, keep in mind if you've recently moved and not updated your address with your county, it would be denied. Your request would be denied. It has to Your address on file has to match the address that you include in there. If you have questions about that, please feel free to give us a call at the hub. We'd be happy to guide you through that. And the next button, and we really want people to do this on their own, even if that means that they need significant support. We really want people to they have the right to access their own information. However, there are times where an authorized representative, like a parent, is supporting. So please be sure to read this information. Reach out if you have questions. We do require a signature and then submit this. And that submission then takes approximately 2 days. And I unfortunately, don't see that I have the completed one in here. I'm going to click on files to see if perhaps I have an old one in there. I do have an old one. We're in luck. I'm going to open that file so we can take a peek at what it looks like. So there's a list of our current benefits, verifies your name as the customer information. In the upper right-hand corner, it tells the date. So if it's been a couple of months and you're really doing some planning based on this information, you're going to want to request a new one because benefits can change, and we want to make sure that you have the most accurate information available to you. And this particular one has an SSI benefit and it lists the amount. It has a Minnesota Supplemental Aid or MSA and it lists the amount. If these other benefits listed on here, general assistance or GA, SNAP, workers' comp, those dollar amounts would be listed in there. And then it includes your healthcare coverage. This particular person has free medical assistance. They're also on a waiver, a CADI waiver. And there's a note in here who the CADI case manager is. And so our response team really tries to put all of the information in there so that you can use this information to have conversations and to plan to the best of your ability. Powerful stuff in there. We're really proud to have that part included in our vault activities. So once you have that, or maybe you don't want that quite yet, but you still want to talk about your budget to live your best life. I'm pretty confident everybody knows what a budget is, that awful thing sometimes that we need to go through to understand where our money goes, how much do we have left, where do we need to put our money. What do we need to focus on and prioritize? And when you do that benefits lookup, those benefits are auto-populated into your budget, making it, just one step easier, a little less data entry for you, and one way to help us ensure accuracy for you. And once you have that information in there, you can perhaps play with work. Maybe you wanna play with, what does it look like to get a roommate, because rent is expensive regardless of where you're at. And then we have an estimated budget. Oh, this budget, we're in the red. We don't have enough money. But if I add work, let's say just 10 hours a week, now I have extra money of 333. A great tool to really look at anybody's budget, to talk with young people about their what money looks like out in the real world, if you will. What does it look like to move out of mom and dad's house after high school? What does it look like for me as an adult to move out of a supported living situation and living on my own so I can plan effectively? Hugely powerful tools, made as easily accessible as we possibly can. And a note on accessibility, all of our websites and our information are reader friendly, and can be accessed on a mobile phone, a tablet. I've even tested them on Kindle, and they do work. So hopefully, anybody who wants to access this information can do so. All right. Jack, did I miss anything? Because it feels like I'm ready to turn it over to you.
No, I don't think you're missing anything.
Awesome. I'm going to stop sharing, and Jack is going to dive into more of the numbers with DB 101, and then we'll come back and we'll look at HB 101.
All right, I'm going to get my screen shared here in a second. All right, hopefully you see DB 101 now. So this is a really powerful website. It has a lot of information on it, and similar to our Disability Hub MN website, I certainly won't try to go through all of it today. There's so much on there, but definitely please feel free and check it out. Um, to start with, we're going to go to the youth tab. So up here, there's work and benefits, programs, youth, and then My Vault. Just a quick note, the My Vault is connected to the Disability Hub's vault and the HB 101 website's vault that Marcy will show you in a little bit. So clicking on the youth tab, it's got to think about it for a minute. 1 second, sorry guys. All right, so it brings us to this page. It has on the left, youth, young people and benefits. And it really is more geared towards talking to young people directly about what potentials they have out there. What are some of the things they want and don't want? So just a quick look, we're going to look at the benefits for young people. And it has a really great breakdown of some of the potential benefits a young person could be receiving and how that might be impacted by turning 18 or different circumstances of transition. So just to point out, there's SSI eligibility, MA eligibility. And if you see these little tools here, that means there's actually an estimator or tool embedded in that part of the website. And it can show you a lot of information. So this one specifically is about healthcare coverage, and it'll show you the limits for medical assistance, Minnesota Care, and so forth. Scrolling back up to the page, it also talks about MAEPD and other healthcare coverage programs that are available out there too. So that, again, there's a lot of information on here. I'm going to go scroll back up to the youth tab. And then I'm going to talk about the ones on the right now. This is more geared towards the parent focus. There's a lot of myth bustings about that, talking about work is possible and how that might be possible, how that could fit in with benefits. What are some of the things to watch out for? So as I mentioned, there's a part that says work is possible, and it really goes into talking about exploring, what those myths might be, that maybe you might believe that a child with a disability might have a harder time finding work or couldn't find work, and really working through those ideas. There's also more information on here. So going to turning 18, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of benefit changes around turning 18. And it really goes through those here as well. There's some other really great tools I want to point out. So if you have a youth who's in school and is interested in working and seeing how that might impact their benefits specifically, there's something called an estimator. And those, I showed you a try it earlier that about that MA limits. This is a little bit longer. It's a more in-depth tool. It's going to ask you some more questions. But it's going to really go through and talk about all the potential benefits that might work for a person who's going to school and working at the same time. And please note, this is for anybody under the age of 25, so it is specific to youth. There's one more estimator I wanted to show you. This one's more of a general work estimator. If you scroll all the way down here to the next steps, you'll see, oh, sorry, let me go back. That wasn't the right tab there. My goodness. Okay, sorry. One more time. I'll find it. There we go. Work and benefits estimator. That's what I was looking for. So this one is a little bit longer again. It's about 20 minutes possibly. It's just going to ask you about all of your benefit information. It's also going to look at healthcare. It's also going to look at maybe some work incentives through your benefits that could potentially help. And then it's going to list out a lot of information. It's going to give you a projection of how your work could impact your benefits. And it's going to give you some options to change that to see how those options could change depending on if you decide to work more or work less. All right, and then there's the building assets I just want to point out. So if you go to the top here to the work and benefits section itself, there's a building your assets and wealth here on the right. So this is particularly helpful if for example, if either you're on SSI, you're on medical assistance, some of those programs have asset limits for how much you can have in that bank account, savings account. These are some potential other ways to be able to grow your wealth and assets without having that actually impacted or counted in those asset limits. So I won't go into the details for each of those programs because they definitely have a lot to offer. But if you see on the left here, it really does go through each of those options. It will talk to you about what the eligibility requirements are, if there are any, and then how to start one and some things to consider. So definitely helpful. There's a pitfalls section too. So sometimes there might be a downside to a program, and that's something that it'll talk about in this section too. There's also frequently asked questions and next steps. So it's very helpful in going through all the options. All right, I think that was everything, Marcy, unless I missed something.
The only thing that I think we should add in there is those estimators. When you do that benefits lookup, regardless of what section of the vault you do that benefits lookup in, those are again auto-populated into that, which is tremendous when you're trying to enter a lot of information.
It saves you time for sure. All right, well, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to you, Marcy.
Awesome. All right. So a little bit of back and forth here. Thankfully, knock on wood, technology is working beautifully for us. So what you see on the screen right now is right back to the Hub website. Marcy, you said you were talking about HB 101. Jack said you were talking about HB 101, but I want to point something out. Where I showed that there is a chat on the upper left hand, there's a chat with us, our phone number, our email, just above that, or a little further in the upper left-hand corner, if I said right-hand corner, I meant left-hand corner, is a link to DB 101, where Jack was just at, and HB 101. And one of the amazing things I think about these tabs is when I click on HB 101 or DB 101, it opens up a new tab so I don't lose my spot on the Hub website. So we are on Housing Benefits 101 right now. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out. Again, encourage you on all of these websites to click around, explore, chat with us and ask questions. See what makes sense for you, what things you might build your capacity, build your personal knowledge. In so many instances surrounding benefits and benefits planning, knowledge is power, and knowledge can break down barriers. The tab that I want to show you first, before we go into the vault, because we're going to go back into that vault, the tab that I want to show you first is all the way to the right-hand side of all these tabs, and it's the Partner tab. And on the Partner tab, the uppermost tiles are where the powerhouses are. There's a housing search tool, and there's a guide for that. How do I search for housing? Housing is difficult. Housing is expensive, and we recognize that. So how do you have an effective search for a new home that meets your needs and where you feel safe and where you feel stable because you can afford it? This housing search guide, search tool guide, is the place to get information to support your housing search. How do you get financial assistance to afford housing? What are the eligibility criteria? Well, these are the DHS, or the Department of Human Services housing programs that help people with disabilities. And then this final third tile is ways to pay for rent and housing that are other rents. And I'm going to click on that guide. And right now it's really small. If we were to read through this, I would definitely increase the font even for myself. But it's a list of a program, what type of program it is, who's it for, what does it do, how do you get it, with some clickable links in there. So we've tried to take what we can of the housing maze that is, and make it so that it's in plain language, like we've made the other pieces of information about benefits and about benefit planning, plain language, and put it in one spot as much as we possibly can. If I scroll down past these guides, there's some additional brochures, housing stabilization services. And that particular brochure is also available in Hmong, Somali, and Spanish. We've tried to provide a few things in other languages, and we recognize that that is a tremendous need. We at the Hub do work with a language line. So if you or someone you support, your family, someone in your family does not have English as their primary language, please don't hesitate to call us. We invite the language line to help us with interpretation. There's also information on housing support and work, switching to MSA. There's some great brochures in there. This next banner of information is a carousel of short videos. And when I say short, I mean 10 minutes or less. Rather cute animation, again, plain language, to make an explanation of these benefits, like MSA is the one that happens to be up here right now, and then explain also that specific benefit and the impact of work. So there's a whole carousel here, I believe, because there's also some on DB 101. I believe that we're at about 18 or more videos that break down these benefits in work and benefits in youth, specifically into small manageable pieces of information. We're going to dive into the vault next, but also on this partners page, if you're like, oh, Marcy made no sense, or you can't remember what I said, that's perfectly fine, because on HB 101, there are short videos to go through each vault activity. and give you just a brief tutorial, why you might use it, how you might use it. And again, you can always call us at the hub, chat with us, email us. And as we scroll down almost to the bottom of this page, there's some archived trainings. One is brain injury resources, housing support in community settings, housing support transition from treatment, and an older one, but still completely relevant, expungement, criminal and eviction. And hopefully this doesn't apply to our young people, but know that these are there. Explore these trainings as a professional, explore these trainings as a family. You might find additional information needed to navigate the process that works for you. In fact, there's a little bit older overview of the hub in there. Don't leave a review for me on that older one. You can send me an email. I would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you about what information you want to know about. What can we share with you that would make your job as a parent easier, as a youth, as a young person trying to learn all of this stuff? What would be helpful for you to know? As an educator, is there something that we can share with you that you can incorporate some of these activities, some of these resources into what you share with your students and your families or with your faculty? We would love to hear from you. All right, all that to go back up to my vault. And I think that in HB 101, the vault activities, these are some of my favorite activities. Look at how many activities there are in here. Oh my gosh, overwhelming, maybe. And but hang tight with us, bear with us, because these are worth exploring. These are worth exploring to plan financially for housing. These are worth exploring to think about, if I had no barriers, what would my dream living situation look like? Is it a cabin in the woods? Is it an apartment in the big city, or something in between? What supports do I need to live as independently as I want to? What are the barriers to living as independently as I want to? And how can we eliminate or reduce those barriers? What skills and great things do I, as an individual, as a young person, already have? And what do I bring to the table that make me a good tenant, that make me a good roommate, that make it so that I can live independently? All of these things and so much more can be explored through these planning paths. So let's dive in. We have, oh gosh, we have 8 tiles here, but we're going to look at tile number 2 that says housing budget. We already had a budget in the best life path. And if we were to look in the DB 101 vault, you would see a budget in there too. So budgets are important. As frustrating as they might be, as much as we don't want to do them, budgets are important. I'm clicking into this. Hopefully, there we go. All right. The first activity again is that benefits lookup. So you can get that benefits lookup through the hub website, through the DB 101 vault activities, or through the HB 101. And once it comes through, it's available to you in all 3 of those vault accesses. Then we have options for paying for your own place. And this is a very short and sweet activity to look at what do you already have in place that might support your housing. And then we have a full budget. What income do I have? What expenses do I currently have? How can I play with my budget a little bit? And what do the results look like? And it's going to look very similar to that budget that I showed you earlier, probably with a few more details though. And it looks very similar to the budget that you might experience in the DB 101 vault access, with some slight differences. So still worthwhile going through and exploring all 3 of the budgets, just to see what resonates with you, what resonates with the young person that you're supporting, or you as a young person, what makes the most sense for you. Okay, I'm going to go back to this path tab. And now we see those tile of all 8 paths. And the first one is, how do I get started? I get to decide, but how do I get started? And I get to decide is a brief activity with a reminder message that, well, you may need support from someone else, from another agency, from other people, from benefits. Ultimately, it is your decision where you live, how you live, um, and when you get to live there, knowing, of course, that financial constraints might put barriers in place or might put boundaries in place, but ultimately decisions are yours. Now, here's this one, my housing ideas. And this is it the cottage in the woods? Is it the apartment in the big city? What does it look like? And what we're seeing here is the report. It is the completion of this activity. We've already gone in and we've entered some things in, and it talks about my current place. Where do I currently live? How long have I lived there? Who chose this living situation for me? If I live with mom and dad have chosen it, um, understandably. And what do I like about it? What if I get to move, if I'm considering moving, what would stay the same for me? What's important to me or important for me about this living situation? What don't I like? Things I don't like. Um, in this particular one, we've said, I don't feel independent. My parents bug me sometimes. I can't have a pet here. And can I stay in my current housing? Yes, but I want to move, or whatever the situation might be. Now, what do I want in a new place? Oh my gosh, let's dream, and let's dream big. Why I plan to move. And there's a note in here to remember that moving is a process and it can take months or even years. I want to live in my own house or apartment, and I want to live by myself, things that I want. I want my own bathroom. I want an accessible kitchen and bathroom. I want to be close to my parents, but I don't want to live with my parents. And what are some help? What's some pieces of help that I might need? I might need help planning the move and finding a new place. Here's some potential barriers. Maybe some fear. I'm afraid of moving or living in a new place. Understandably, I remember moving out for the first time. Money. Oh my gosh, I think this is a legitimate concern for every person who's paying for housing out there. Am I going to have enough money and services? Steps that I've taken. What have I already done? And some other notes. More than one person is helping me. I don't have a written housing plan. Good news, HB 101 vault activities can help you do that. Now, maybe we filled this out a couple months ago, and maybe graduation is right around the corner and things look a little different than they did. Maybe my health has changed. Maybe the supports I've needed are changing because my health has changed. I can change my answers. And when I change my answers, now it takes me back to that data entry and I can redo this. None of these activities are intended to remain static. They're not meant to be filled out one time and stay that way forevermore. They are meant to change and move and be fluid with the person. So maybe mom and dad are helping me fill this information out now. Maybe we're doing it together as a family because I'm 17 and this is all new. But as a 27-year-old, maybe I've been living on my own for a while and I don't need mom and dad's support. I want their input, but I don't need their support in the same way. Or if you're like me and you're in your late 40s, this information is still helpful. If I were to move, I still find these helpful. What is it that I really love about where I'm at? What is it that I want to change? And how do I get there? What are the barriers? My husband may not agree with me wanting to move. That might be a barrier. So now we can go to these other activities, building a housing team, that's who's helping me. And this last one in this particular path is my communication profile. And that's where we're going to go next. This green check mark by the icon for the communication profile indicates that it's been completed. So just like the housing ideas, you're going to see when I click in here, the completed results of this. We did this as Anita, and there's a picture of Anita on the upper right-hand corner with this particular layout of the communication profile. And it's a communication profile. And she says, I prefer English. Pictures help me understand. And then there's information about how to reach her, how she prefers to communicate, how to communicate with her when she's upset, how to help with communication. And now communication, please note, this is not strictly a housing thing. It just happens to exist in the housing vault activities. This could be, I've changed schools and I have new teacher or new teachers. I have a new case manager. Gosh, maybe mom or dad are divorced and they're dating, and I'm getting to know someone that they um, they like and they're in a relationship with. Maybe this even helps that person. Or maybe mom and dad are trying to understand you in your teenage years. Perhaps if I had had this with my kids while they were in their teen years, maybe I should actually suggest they still do it now. They're young adults. Maybe this would help. Or maybe I fill it out and give it to my husband. There's so many uses for communication profile. But it's a great way to come to the table and from a young person's perspective, even from family perspective, we're going to come to the table and we're going to talk about some things that impact the rest of my life right now. How are we all going to communicate? Well, please remember that if I'm upset, I might cry. I might get offensive or loud if I'm angry. New people are at the table. This is incredibly powerful to help them understand how I communicate too. So, as I said earlier, I love the activities in here, and I hope that you do take the opportunity to explore and see how they might work for you in the whole journey of talking about benefits and planning for after school, planning for moving from elementary school to middle school. Gosh, I can't imagine if a middle school teacher who supports your student in special ed were to get this as a new teacher. I would think that they would have some great appreciation for something like this. All right, I'm going to click go back to PAS, and we're going to look at the third one, housing needs and wants. What do I want in a new place? So kind of like, do I want the cabin in the woods or the apartment in the city? But this one is looking more at, once I've found the place, the perfect location, the perfect little house or apartment, what do I need to be able to stay there? What do I need to be comfortable living there, to be safe living there? And this is broken up into needs and wants, accessibility needs and wants, and service needs and wants. So let's explore this a little bit. Needs and wants. This one has been completed. And we've said, I need my own bedroom, my own bathroom, my own kitchen. I would like to live in the same area. I'd like for there to be a community space, a supermarket, other stores within walking distance. I need to be near job opportunities. What I don't want to live in a new area. I don't want to live in my own apartment or house with someone else. So I don't want a roommate. And we've provided some additional links to articles, worksheets. Use a worksheet to see if it makes sense for you to have a housemate. And then we have some notes in here. This can be shared. So I can, if I scroll back up, in the upper right-hand corner of this particular activity is, I don't know what they call this icon, but it means share. It's a little triangle with 3 dots on it, and this can be shared vault to vault. So if I've completed this and I want to share it with my case manager, or I've completed it as a school activity and I want to share it with my parents, I can do that safely, securely through the vault. Okay. I'm going to go, oops, I'm not going to go to next activity. I don't think, yes. Yes, actually I am. I'm going to go into accessibility needs and wants to explain this one a little bit. These are things like no stairs, automatic entry, accessibility, wheelchair accessibility, mobility accessibility, what I would prefer versus what do I need. And the next one then is services. So these are things like, do I need on-site staff to support me? Do I need to be able to access personal care, such as bathing, dressing? Do I need transportation? Do I need to be on where Medivan or Metro Mobility serves that area? Things to think about to make sure that you're getting the services, or the young person that you care about is getting the services that they want and need to be safe in their home, as well as be happy in their home. Once all those activities have been completed, you can actually create this path report. And again, that can be shared. It can also be created as a PDF and printed out. I could choose, well, I really don't want to share with mom and dad quite yet my needs and wants. So I was thinking that we could, well, I am mistaken. My apologies. I was thinking that we could delete these. I can't delete, but I can add. Maybe there's an apartment listing that I found online and I want to include this when I share it with mom and dad. So I can edit to add that with that little, with that link following that attachment space. Okay. Going back to these paths, because I've got one more thing in here to show you. And that is the fifth one. So the second one in the second row, living with someone. Now, I can tell you that in my experience, most college age young adults are living with roommates. I am seeing that with the expense of housing, more and more people are choosing to have roommates, choosing to live as families together. Housing is expensive. Roommates is one way to share that expense. But having roommates can be incredibly difficult too. So making sure that the conversation has happened and that we are supporting young people in self-advocacy, in having those conversations ahead of time. Does having a roommate make financial sense? What do I want? What's important to me or important for me in having a roommate? And then there's even a roommate agreement. I'm going back up to this, does a roommate make sense activity? And this is, I'm going to go into change my answer so we can see some of that. It's actually referring some of the other activities based on the activities you've done in HB 101. Do you think you can afford to live on your own? Well, gosh, no, I can't. If you're thinking about a roommate, do you already have some place that you plan to live with other people or have another person? Yeah, I happen to work with my childhood friend and college roommate. Maybe she'd want to live with me again. And do you have funds from the waiver? Do you get help from the MA waiver program? Those are the three questions in there. And then there's a result. Yeah, you think you can afford to live on your own. It reviews your answers. Based on these answers, you should make a roommate agreement. Okay, well, let's go to the next activity. This is a roommate profile. And I wish I would have had this when I was back in college. Jack is nodding his head. Yes, absolutely. Me too. I wish I would have had this to share with my kids when they were looking for a roommate, exploring roommates. Gosh, this is helpful. This is powerful. This is useful. So on here, I've got some answers completed. And you can see as I'm scrolling through that there's a lot of content in here. There's a lot of content in here. But again, life changes. So let's go change our answers. I click on change my answers. What's your situation? This is all information about you. How many people are you willing to live with? Where are you willing to live? What's the top 3 cities? What sort of support do you need? What sort of money can you put towards housing? What can you afford? And so on. How old are you? What's your gender identity? Do you live with a spouse or a partner? Do you have pets? Are you willing to live with pets? And on to really get a good comprehensive picture. Oh, it looks like I must have filled this out because there's a bearded dragon in here. Um, let's see. Then we hit save as we update those things. And then we talk about our roommate. What age range are you willing to live with? Are you comfortable living with any age or a specific age range? Do you prefer to live with same gendered people? Does it matter at all? Are you willing to live with a couple? What about kids? What about pets? What are some things that you find important to have in a roommate? And then there's some preferences. What about guests? What about music? What about the temperature? Who's going to control the thermostat? Who's going to control the remote? Who's taking out the garbage? Who's doing the dishes? The answer in my house is me. I think I need to fill out this roommate agreement with everybody that lives in my house, see if we can make some changes around here. And then I can email this to somebody. If I have a potential roommate, I can share this. Hey, I completed this activity. And those results page that we saw when I first clicked into here, it just puts it all into a quick profile remote. But so much information in there. So scrolling down, I apologize for the motion sickness. And the final activity in this section is the roommate agreement. This is where, well, if it will open, there we go. This is where we talk about the rules, like guests, like smoking or vaping, drinking, when are quiet hours, what about pets, who's doing the laundry, who's cleaning the bathroom, who's washing their dishes. Here's rent. Our total rent is $1,500 and we're going to split that evenly. But maybe there's some different situation. Maybe because you have a child, you pay a little bit more than the other person. And who's going to make sure it gets paid? Do you pay it individually? Does one person get all the money transferred to them and they send a cashier's check, or they do online bill pay? What happens, this reminder about what happens before the lease ends. And then there's a place to sign it for both roommates or however many roommates there might be. And now this isn't intended, I don't believe, but I've noted that if I really wanted to make this formal with my roommate, I could have this notarized. Not to say that it would do anything legally. I don't know. We don't provide legal advice, but it is a way, notarization is a way to make this, hey, we've witnessed this and we've said this, if that's important to someone. So, tremendously useful and powerful tools exist within all of the accesses of the vault, but I really do love these in HB 101. Hope you will take the time to explore. Hope you will take the time to introduce some of these activities to the young people that you support, regardless of how you support them. Please feel free to reach out to us with questions, guidance through completing these activities. We appreciate those questions, and we exist to help you navigate the systems and answer the questions that you have. Jack, any last words, anything that you think that we should point out?
No, there's just so much to talk about on this topic. It's hard to pinpoint it, but again, if you have questions, certainly reach out to the hub. We're happy to go through and answer them and point you in the right direction if we can't do it for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We look forward to hearing from us. We look from you. We look forward to hearing how you have used these tools and these resources to support someone living their best life, or how you've used them in your own life to live your best life. Looking forward to sharing future webinars and additional information with you. Thank you again. Enjoy your lunch and the rest of your week.
All right. Thank you, Marcy and Jack. And thank you to Joy, our ASL interpreter. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, you guys, such a wealth of information. And I'm really amazed at your knowledge of the tools and activities. And it's so helpful, even personally in my own life as a person with a disability. So I really am so grateful. And if anybody has any questions at any time, you're welcome to, you can do a live chat. You can go to our website, disabilityhubmn.org, to chat with someone live, or give us a call at 1-866-333-2466. All right, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.